Police have a dangerous job. We all know that. Arresting lawbreakers and drug dealers is a dangerous business. One that I know I would never sign up to do, and I'm grateful to law enforcement for the job that they do. So when police have to make an arrest, I give them the benefit of the doubt. But in this case, there is no doubt. Law enforcement did not do what they should have done. They had a no-knock warrant to storm into a house 2 o'clock in the morning. But they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't know who was and who was not inside that house. And as a result, an innocent little baby was severely and unnecessarily critically burned and is now in a coma.
Them cops busted in the door and threw that grenade in there without even looking first, and it landed right in his playpen and exploded on his pillow right in his face.
This is the playpen this little boy was sleeping in. The 19-month-old is now in Grady's burn unit. A warning, the following photo is graphic. This is how he looks now, laying in an induced coma.
There was no clothes, there was no toys, there was nothing to indicate that there was children present in the home. If there had been, then we would have done something different.
A confidential informant told Habersham County's Special Response Team a drug deal was made earlier in this Cornelia home on Lakeview Heights Circle. The SRT then hit the home with this no-knock warrant for an alleged methamphetamine dealer at 2 a.m. Wednesday.
You're trying to minimize anything that could go wrong, and in this case, the greatest thing went wrong.
The Funsvina family from Wisconsin had just moved in with relatives after their own home had burned down.
We knew in our minds there wasn't children there, but unfortunately there was.
The sheriff told me a pastor spoke with all involved. He described the team as emotionally distraught, many parents themselves.
Is it going to make us be more careful in the next one? Yes, ma'am, it is. It's going to make us double question.
I'm going to show you a very graphic photo right now. And this is the damage that was done by police when they raided this house looking for someone who was dealing meth. On the right-hand side is the after effects. Left-hand side is what this beautiful little child looked like beforehand. And we all know the child did nothing wrong here. The child was just sleeping in his playpen. Let me bring in my guest because there's a lot really to unravel here. CNN correspondent Martin Savage is with us, criminal defense attorney and former police instructor Philip Holloway also here. Martin, let me start with you. And the guy they were looking for wasn't even in the house, right? Wasn't in the house, and they had no idea that this child and other children were in the house.
Right. That's according to the sheriff of Habersham County, who I spoke to, and that's Joey Teller. He says that the situation really was that they had a informant that had apparently made a drug buy, methamphetamine, just a couple of hours before inside of this residence.
Sure.
That's what they based their intel on, and that's what their decision was made to go forward and try and get this no-knock warrant. They also said that this particular man, the suspect, was known to have weapons. So they saw him as being a danger. They saw him as being a drug dealer. They apparently got the no-knock warrant. We know these warrants are notorious. There are problems with these warrants, but they got it, which is essentially they can go to this house, launch the raid. They don't have to announce before they barge in, and that's what they did. They used a ram, pushed open the front door of the home. Once they got the door open, they said it was tough to get open, but once they got a gap, they tossed in the flashbang. And unfortunately, that is when it went into the playpen in which this child was sleeping.
Now, the other part, I heard the mother of the baby say the van was in the driveway. There were children's car seats in that van. And I'm troubled. Have police conceded that point?
No. Police, at least from talking to me, have said they had no indication that there were children inside of the home. They said at the time that the drug deal went down, that they made that purchase, nobody saw any children, no sounds of children, no indication of toys. They say they had no idea a child was in the house and said if they did know, they would have acted and done things differently, such as maybe go in through a side door, definitely not use an explosive.
Well, if you're there 2 o'clock in the morning, what sign of a child are you going to see anyway? They're probably sleeping, and they were, like this baby was. Philip, I know you're really angry with this one, and you've instructed police, former police officer. What has you the most angry? What aspect of this? What went wrong?
Vinny, just a few miles away from this studio, this child is laying in a coma. Why? Because the police did not do their job properly. They said that they did due diligence. If they had done surveillance on the house, they would have known the person they were trying to arrest wasn't there. If they had done surveillance on this house, they would have known that another family was staying there. If they had done surveillance on this house or even bothered to look in the front yard, they would have seen that minivan with child's belongings all through it. Today, on the radio, just on my drive in here today, I heard the sheriff say that their surveillance that they conducted consisted of a drive-by and taking the word of this confidential informant. You know what confidential informants are, Vinny.
They're criminals. They're criminals.
They are people.
You're taking the word of a criminal.
They are people who themselves have had drug charges and they're trying to work them off so that they can get a better deal in their case. So this is the person whose credibility they're staking their actions on. And that's why this child is laying in this burn unit in a coma.
This baby battling for his own life now, all after a no-knock raid of the house that he was staying in with his family. They weren't targeting him, the baby, or his parents. They were targeting someone else who was in that house, who actually wasn't in the house at the time that it was raided. But police threw this flash grenade into the crib of the baby, severely burned him, and that child now battling for his life. Martin Savage with me, as well as Philip Holloway. Also joining us, Ebony Williams and Philip Snyder. Ebony is a defense attorney talk radio host out there in L.A., and Philip is a great defense attorney down in Florida. Okay. Martin, let me go back to you. Two things. There were other children in the house, so this wasn't just one baby. There were other children of that family that were there.
Correct. Right? There were 4 children in total. So, you know, the fact that the authorities say they did not know there were children in the house is hard to overlook 4 children at any time. I mean, they create noise in some cases, but they also bring a lot of stuff with them.
And the guy they were trying to arrest, who wasn't in the house at the time, has been arrested.
Right.
Without the no-knock.
Correct. Yeah.
They just caught him. Like normal, like you're under arrest.
Short time later, in another home in Cornelia, Georgia, with 3 other people.
Okay. All right. A lot of comments, hashtag on the case, and this is one from Uberales 4. This is what happens when unqualified police turn into wannabe soldiers. This from C.E. Jackson. His parents had nowhere to go and chose a house that was being watched and then raided. Accident. Police didn't know. Well, it's obvious that it wasn't done on purpose here, Ebony. The question is, should police have done more surveillance to find out who's in the house, who's not in the house, whose van is that in the driveway? Why are there children's seats there? Can we run the plates on the van to find out, right?
I think you're absolutely right, Vinny. The question is one of foreseeability. And I do think there was some evidence there that if the cops had been a little bit more diligent in their, kind of scoping out the environment that they were putting a bomb basically into, yeah, they could have maybe seen the writing on the wall that there were not just 1, but as you guys have pointed out, 4 children, in fact, residing in this home. And while I appreciate the aggressiveness of officers in this case, they've got to do more diligence and be a little more accountable for their actions here.
Let's take a look at some Facebook comments that we have. Okay. This one from Christy. The officers are not in the business of assaulting babies, but they did have a legal warrant, did need to do their job, and had no way of knowing child's crib and child would be in the living room. And Tom Bircher, urban operations is among the deadliest ops for police and military. You take no chances in these situations. I say good job, SWAT, for doing your job and being safe. I know their wives appreciate it when they came home at night. Philip, let me ask you about that. But what is normal trained protocol for when you're going to do one of these raids in the middle of the night?
You do surveillance. You do adequate surveillance. You make sure you know where you're throwing that grenade. We have on this very show thrown Oscar Pistorius under the bus because he fired a gun through a door not knowing, as he claimed, who was on the other side. And even that alone was negligent, criminally negligent. What's the difference here? They tossed a grenade in the door, landed near the child's head, near his pillow, and it blew up in his face. They didn't have any idea where they were throwing that grenade. If they had done their homework and done their job right, and this would not have happened. And it's absolutely unnecessary and shameful.
All right, we posted this question on our Facebook page. Is this a tragic accident or police recklessness? What do you think? Like us on Facebook and let us know.